everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way, and this week's project is a little tropical scene, super easy, super fun to do. I get asked for tropicals all the time and they really are fun to do, but they can kind of be intimidating because there's a lot of water and sand in open areas. But you can do them really simple like this and avoid the middle ground. You can see there's not a lot in between. There's a large image in the front and a small in the background, and that sort of takes away all the complexity of the painting. It makes it really simple. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. So what we're going to need is a container from the container set. You could use any of these. I've chosen the bucket, but actually any of these are going to work. You can use any little structure. I chose this one from Easy Project B, and you can see it's really detailed. So we're not going to pick up all of this detail in this little structure. I've also used the daisies from Cottage by the Beach. And then from our foliage and flower set, the vine and the grass. And from the flower set, the little filler flowers. Okay, so we're ready to get started. When you look at this image, you can see that the structure is really light. The bucket is really light. We want it to look like it's kind of bleached out by the sun. It's been sitting in the sun, it's on the beach, and so not a really dark color, but a light pastel color. And so in order to get that bleached out look, we want to use this gray. And to get this gray, we want to use a combination of two colors. Okay, so let's add some color. Let's start with the bucket. And we're going to start by inking it with the African violet. So that's this cool blue. And we're just going to ink this whole thing with the African violet. And then we're going to stamp it off. So we're going to take another piece of paper. It doesn't have to be watercolor paper. Another piece of paper, and we're going to stamp it off at least 2 times, maybe even a third. And then we're going to take the sepia, so the sepia number 45, and we're going to ink it again. And don't press too hard on these. Okay, just a good, firm, even pressure is going to do the job. Okay, just like that. And you can see I've tipped it a little bit. It's sort of stuck in the sand. That's your preference. You can do that if you want to. Okay, so let's go on to the little cottage. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. So we're going to ink it in the 86, and then we're going to ink it in the sepia. And remember I said I don't want to use all these details, so all of this detail in the structure, I just want to go along the roof line. So I'm just going to go around here. I'm going to get the chimney, these basic lines. If you get a little of this detail, it's okay. I just don't think we need all of it. So just follow the basic structure of the little cottage. Get the windows and the sides of the house here, the door. And then we're going to stamp that off. This blue is really dark, so we want to make sure we don't get too much of this ink on there. Okay, now we're going to get it with the sepia. So again, we're going to follow the same lines. Just follow this roof line, get all of this here, and just leave this detail off. We'll get the doorway and these lines here. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I have used a positioner, so I've stamped it with my L square just to make sure I get it in the right place. So I placed my little acrylic plate in here, and I stamped the image into the center, and now I have a little picture of where I want this to go, and I think right there is perfect. So we're going to remove this plexiglass, and we're going to stamp this little house right in here. Okay, and now you can see that both of these images are sort of a really gray color, a washed out color, and that's exactly what we want. So let's start out now by adding a water to the image. So we're going to pull some of this color out of the lines, and you can see there's still a little bit of the blue showing through. That adds a lot. That adds a lot of dimension to have extra color in there. We don't want things to look too flat, and having more than one color is always a good thing. So let's just keep pulling this. Remember, you need to leave a highlight in the center so that your image doesn't look flat. And we want this to be really light. If you notice that you're getting too much color on your brush, go ahead and wash it off, clean it off, and start again. So this back in here will be the shady area. So let's just color that in solid. Just a little bit goes a long ways. Don't have to do a lot. Put a little shadow under here. You can pick up color from the image and just draw a little shadow on there. Okay, so far so good. Let's add some color now to the windows, and I'm going to do that with a warm blue. This is the 29 Prussian blue, and I'm just going to put that on my palette and add a little color now to the windows. This is a warm blue because this is warm and the sun is out and it's tropical, so we want a warm blue. Okay, so let's go on to the next step and let's add our flowers and foliage into the bucket. And I've picked out my little daisies from the cottage by the beach, and I'm going to put them on my block here. So I'm going to ink the blooms now with the number 20 magenta. Just get enough color on there. Bright pink always goes with tropics. You don't need to use the entire stem. We're just going to put it in this bucket, so we don't want to have too long of stems on here. So that's the nice thing about a stamp, is that you can ink the parts that you want. And remember, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So at least 5 times. And then just touch it with your brush. And you can see how that color just starts to pop. Don't do anything to the stems. You don't need to add any water to the stems. Just the blooms. Okay, there we go. So let's add a little green in here now. So let's use our vine. And we're going to ink this up. And I'm using the number 15 green, so warm green. And we just want to make sure we get this in here again a bunch of times. Dip a brush in water and just dab. Just like so. Doesn't take a lot of water, just a little bit. We can pull some of this color out of the bucket here. Give a little more background. Same with this little cottage. Okay, so let's get ready to put our water in. The water is going to go right in between here, and sometimes it's hard to find a really good tropical color for water. So what I do is usually mix it myself, and it's really easy to do. You just need a bright green. This is actually a number 4 bright green. It's really bright. You can see how bright it is. And a warm blue. So this is number 29, the Prussian blue. Works great. So we're just going to put a little of this blue into the green. The nice thing about a palette is that you can mix your own colors. If you don't have the exact color of marker, you just make it yourself. And we can test it here. Make sure we have the right color. That looks pretty good. So let's brush this on. The thing about water is that you want to keep your hands straight. So straight lines, just like this. Stay away from your image because the watercolor will bleed together. So we want to make sure that we don't touch the bucket. And just drag this color out here, just like this. You can drag it out as far as you want. And then as that dries, you can add a little more color, a little darker if you want to. Okay, so let's add our sand. This is a number 30. So this is actually called rosewood, but it makes a great sand color. And now we're going to brush this on. So make sure your brush is clean. You've washed it off. And now let's take some of this and just brush this color on. As much as you want. So we're going to kind of come around the water here. Let's add a little more color. Add a little more to the palette so we can get a little more sand color on here. And just bring this all the way around. This is so easy to do and so fun. Little beach scenes are the funnest to do, and they don't have to be scary. Okay, so we've got that in. Let's add a little darker color now. This is a number 6 brown. And let's just kind of go around this edge, just a little bit. Can put a little bit here by the bucket. There we go. And let's put a little, actually, let's put a little bit on the door. And I'm going to take some of this color that I used for the water, and I'm just going to brush it onto this cottage. Give it a little color. Just a little bit. This is going to be much darker in here on this side. And I'm just going to drag some of this color from the roof over. We don't really want to put a roof color on here. Again, remember it's sort of bleached out, so the roof is kind of bleached out. Everything is bleached out by the sun. So we don't want anything too dark. Okay, so let's just add our little flowers now. Around the cottage. And we'll do that with the little filler flower. So we're just going to ink a few of these. We don't need a lot because we're just doing little flowers in the background. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And maybe just a few over here. Just the idea of these little tropical flowers. Dip your brush in water and just dab. You can see this is kind of all coming together. Little cabin surrounded by color. So cute. And I'm gonna add a little more pink to this little group here. Finish it off with a little more color in the bucket and on the house. I go back in a lot and add detail. Sometimes with the water, the detail gets lost, and you can go back in and do that. Okay, finish it all up with the fine tip of your sand color. So this is, excuse me, not the sand color, but number 6, the number 6 brown, and just add a few little dots here for the sand. And let's just put in a shadow. Shadow will be the number 86. So let me just put this up a little bit. So let's just add a little bit of this color behind the bucket. And we can put a little bit over here by the cottage. And it looks pretty good. I think we're about finished. There's your little cottage, and be sure to sign. Always sign your work. It's going to be different every time. And it is your own creation. It doesn't matter that you're using stamps. This is your own creation that you have put together, and it's your own work of art. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.